Hello, my name is Myra Tainsley, and I'm recording this on August the 12th, 2019, and I am the proud single parent of an autistic son who's 26 years old. His name is Marquise, and he's the victim of abuse, neglect, and exploitation by a sick, racist, wicked, corrupt, evil system that has appointed a racist, lying, wicked, unfit attorney by the name of Aaron L. Sanford of the Nye Law Group to be my son's limited guardian. And my son has been hidden and isolated from me for over 4 years. So she's afraid to let me see what my son um, looks like, what condition he's in. He has not been allowed to talk to me since December the 16th, 2018, because my son is high functioning. And so they know he can tell me things. So they don't want him telling me, um, you know, certain things. Like he can tell me if he's being abused and neglected, which he has told me many, many times, both in person and on the phone, because this has been going on for several years, and he could tell me, if he's been hurt, if he's been moved, and that sort of thing. So, I am a professional Christian woman, African American. I'm also a registered nurse of over 30 years. Um, I believe in God as a Christian, and I know it will take God to bring Marquise back home. That's my son's first name, if you didn't know. But he will be coming back home because God is going to bring me back home. And he told me he was going to bring me back home. My son has suffered tremendously in the system. He's been abused repeatedly, neglected repeatedly, and he's being exploited for federal funds. And I'm also a victim as a mother, because I love my child just as much as any other mother or father loves their child. And there's a lot of racism in this thing, because white people, the race is white people, and because all white people ain't racist. I think it's just very retarded to say a whole race is the same. There's something sick about that. Just like all black people don't live in the ghetto, all white people don't live in Beverly Hills, and all white people are not racist. The majority of them in this country are, and a lot of them don't understand the definitions of racism or racist or prejudice or bias. But the racist white people always said I escalated my son. So I'm going like, well, and I know why, because I'm a black mother, and I'm going like, well, so when the white individuals that have autism, whether they're any age group, when they're having meltdowns at home, living with their parents, are they telling these white mothers and white fathers, you escalate your son or daughter with autism, like they're telling me? I don't think so. So, racism is always, a I don't want to say it's a stickler point, but it's something that white people, especially racist white people, don't like to talk about. But it's always been around. This country's always been racially ill or racially sick, and it's been that way since 1776. And it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing, if you know the meaning, because racism basically is treating the victim race both negatively and differently. And the bad thing about, racist sick white people is that they always try to dehumanize black people as well. I had a woman, because if you go to my Facebook, and I got 4 Facebook pages, but if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that I have like a animated flag waving, but it's upside down. And I have them on the pages too. And some old sick racist white woman said, what the hell am I supposed to give me a reason wave my flag upside down? I said, well, I never said that anybody should be waving their flag upside down. I'm waving it upside down because of me and my son's experience. I don't expect for you to wave it upside down, your flag, because your experience is not my experience. If America been good to you, and you got your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and your American dream, then wave your flag upright. Because I got neighbors that wave their American flag. It doesn't bother me not one bit. They're white, they got white privilege, they're not living the experience that I'm living, and my son is living. And I think I might have deleted or banned her or something, because I ain't got time for ignorance. And older that I get, the more I am truthful. I don't care who's in denial about it, who don't like it. But, you know, and that's the problem with racist, sick white people. They always try to tell black people what they're dealing with or going through. And I said, that don't work for me. That doesn't make sense. That they ought to have enough sense, they think they're so smart, to know that everybody doesn't have the same experience or opportunities in this country. Because they're going to make it harder on black people because they try to act like black people ain't human. They don't care nothing about our feelings, you know. And that's why I said, as a mother, I said, well, I love my child as much as they love the kids or the brats they got. You know, I mean, what gives? But they have always tried to dehumanize black people. You know, the 3/5 of the human stereotype. That they treat black people like black people ain't even human. They don't have feelings, they don't have rights, they don't have a life. So they have always said that. And I said, well, he's venting to me, not because of me. I said, he has a right to vent to his mother. And maybe if you animals, because they treat my son like an animal because they're animals. I said, maybe if y'all didn't treat him like an animal, then maybe he wouldn't vent to me. Maybe you could say, Mom, I'm having a great time here. I love this place. I had fun today. He has never told me that. I said, he's venting to me, not because of me. Because my son, like I said, you know, they treated him like an animal. I said, even these inmates got more rights than my son has. I said, they get, you know, phone calls, and I guess visits from their families and stuff. And here he is disabled. But they have always blamed me or him, and sometimes both, for his disability. Because the staff over there was unfit, abusive, didn't know anything about autism. And I had to force them to take a trigger list. I said, well, you need to know what triggers my son so you know how to work with him while he's here. They didn't like that. Because, you know, black people, we're not supposed to say nothing. You know, we're just 3/5 of a human. You know, we don't have no rights. You know, and black people have died just because they've been black. Because white people that are sick in the head has refused to acknowledge them as human. But not all white people are racist. That's why you got some of them out there marching with, well, throughout American history, they've been, you know, marching in civil rights marches, affirmative action, police brutality. I don't have nothing against law enforcement, but it has existed in this country. Let's not be in denial. And, you know, Black Lives Matter, because they're not in denial. Those are white people that can acknowledge that racism is in this country. They're not in denial about it. And that's why you got some of them out there. You know, they'll march, you know, for Black Lives Matter, or, like I said, police brutality, or some type of civil rights, affirmative action, or something like that. And that's the worst thing, is to be in denial about the truth. But I know a lot of racist, sick white people don't understand racism. They're not living it. They're not experiencing it. They don't have a clue. Not a clue. And the bad thing about it is when they try to tell black people what they're living. I said, don't go there with me. I'm not the one. I said, you just might as well, you know, save your breath. I said, you don't tell me what I'm living. Just like ain't nobody going to tell me what my son's been living. But I got the evidence. I'm also an evidence girl. I'm not just a reality girl. I'm an evidence girl. I have to prove what I say. I'm not just full of hot air, or it's just my imagination, and then just Marquise's imagination, and he's not full of hot air. And that's why I got 4 pages on Facebook. And one is the justice page, the other one's the abuse and neglect page, the other one is the audio tape page, and the Let Marquise Go page. So what I've been doing, I've been putting recordings, because like I said, my son is high functioning, so I've been, been putting recordings on the audio tape page, and it's called the audio tapes of autistic Marquise Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. The justice page is called Justice for Autistic Marquise Tanksley. The abuse and neglect page is called Abuse and Neglect of Autistic Marquise Tanksley by the government. And the Let Go Marquise page is called Let Marquise Go, Free Him from the Suffering, Abuse, and Neglect. But my son's a sufferer. I don't know anybody that's suffered as much as he has. And just to think that he's developmentally disabled, that he has autism. But, you know, they see him as the old violent black male. His life ain't worth nothing. He's disabled. He's a black male. But anyway, I decided that I was going to make this audio tape page, put recordings of Marquise in his own words, from his own mouth, what I had to listen to as a mother. Because I'm a victim in this thing as a mother. You know, to have to come in there and see your child, hear your child, see with your own eyes your child being hit and attacked and punched in the chest. So I said, well, I'm going to make this audio tape page and let people hear Marquise in his own words, from his own mouth, you know, describe his abuse, how he's being neglected, how, you know, he's being traumatized, and being put in sensory overload, and how noisy the environment was, and how he missed me and loved me and wanted to be back home, and how they had been, you know, assaulting him, abusing him, and restraining him. And, I mean, like I said, you know, as a mother, ain't no parent would want to come in there, no parent that loved a child, and hear the things that my son has told me, or seen the things that I've seen. And I've been in there and seen all kind of unexplained bruises and sores and open wounds, and like I said, I actually seen a state of Ohio thug punch my son in the chest. I seen that with my own eyes, and he didn't even know I was standing there, because I'm a Christian. God will do things like that. God set that boy up where I could see him and he couldn't see me. But I'm a victim as a mother, and I've always been baffled, because I'm going like, well, you know, they always try to dehumanize black people. I said, but I love my child as much as they love their child or the brats they got in their life. I said, why don't they always try to make black people look like they ain't human, and like we ain't supposed to have no feelings? And that's all away from slavery. And we're not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to just hang our head low and tuck, you know, our chin in, and put our mouths and lips down, and not say a word. And I just think about how bad, you know, people are going to answer to that. Because some people will be sent to hell. Because to God, the way you treat other people is a big deal. That's the reason why Jesus told that one man, there's two commandments. The two greatest commandments that everything rests on. All the rest of them rest on these two commandments. He said the greatest one is loving God with all your heart, your spirit, your soul. Then the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. He said the second one is like the first one, and it's loving your neighbor like you love yourself. And the Bible talks about, you know, loving your neighbor, and how in the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus said, well, who was the neighbor to this guy that was beaten and left for dead and robbed by thieves? And the guy said, well, the one that was kind to him. And Jesus said, you go and do likewise. But the guy that was kind to him was a Samaritan. He wasn't a Jewish guy. The guy that had got beaten and robbed was Jewish. And Jesus said he's going to tell people what you've done to the least of the burden you did to me. Big deal to God. And it's going to send people to hell. Because you can't mistreat a whole bunch of people or your neighbor and think you're going to head up to heaven. Because God said, how can you say you love me who you have not seen and hate your brother who you have seen? And that's the way God feels about it. You can find that in the book of First John, not the Gospel of John, the book of First John. And the book of James is full of scripture about prejudice and hating people from their outward appearance. So God, it means a big deal to God. And so does injustice, because that's what me and my son are living through. We're living through injustice, because God's going to have to bring him home and bring him out. And the Bible is full of God talking about and being angry at injustice. And when he talks about injustice, he's not talking about the average person on the street. He's talking about lawyers, people that work in the illegal system. Judges, magistrates, clerks, court clerks, or clerks of court, or whatever they call them. Court investigators, just, page workers, just all that scum that work in the court system. That's what he's talking about. And God is very angry with that stuff. But he promises to put it down. So what I'm doing, like I said, I'm making recordings on this audio tape page of my son telling me, all the different things that, he was feeling, the emotional pain, the physical pain. Then I'm also putting recordings of myself on there, advocating for my son. And on this particular recording for January 2013, I got hundreds of more to upload, because they go all the way up to the last time I talked to my son. Because, like I said, they have not allowed my son to have any contact with me in over 4 years. And the last time he's been allowed to call me, because if he doesn't call me, it's not because he doesn't want to, it's because he hasn't been allowed to, has been, the last time he was allowed to call me was December the 16th, 2018. So, I got tapes all the way up to the last time he was allowed to talk to me. And I'm at, this is what, January 2013. So you can just imagine all the other tapes that I have to upload. But I'm also having recordings, or putting recordings on our audio tape page of me talking to the staff and advocating for my son. Because on this tape, I was calling, I at least called like 5 times, 5 consecutive days, trying to get to see or talk to my son. And they kept denying it. They wouldn't let me see or talk to him, but they would restrain him or bruise him up or injure him, and they didn't want me to see it, and they didn't want Marquise to talk to me and tell me about it. Because they know he tells his mom about what's going on. So, like 5 days straight, I had called them and was asking about seeing or talking to my son. But I also was bringing, on this tape, I brought in some new glasses, because they broke the other ones. And I took the broken ones away, brought up some brand new glasses I had them sign in for. I had them signing in for everything I brought my son up there. Because I would bring him new sets of new clothes, just brand new sets of clothes. And then they stopped signing in for it when I started questioning them. I said, where's all the clothes? I don't see, these are y'all's clothes. Where's all the new clothes I brought my son? Because he wasn't wearing them. And then when I started questioning about it, they stopped signing in for them. All the gifts and everything. So I would go ahead and write it down, take pictures of it after they refused to sign in for all the stuff I was bringing up there to my son. But probably out of all those brand new clothes, 98% of them he never got to wear. At least I never seen him with it. Or I never seen him with any of those clothes on. So I told him, I said, I want to see all the clothes that my son is not wearing. I would give them to me, because I also was asking them about a torn light gray hoodie that I brought up to my son. And I wanted it, to keep it for evidence, and I had bought some more clothes up there. And they never did give me that. I don't think they ever gave it to me. But one time, one boy tried to blame Because I said, I want to see all his clothes. Because they said, well, he tore up all his clothes. I said, I want to see it. Because my son never tore up his clothes when he lived at home with me. Now, he might do some property damage, like he might hit a table or something, break a table, leg on the table. But he never would tear out his clothes. I'm going like, I'm his mother. I know he doesn't do that. When they sit in a bag, cut up sweatbands, you could tell they were cut. I still got a picture of them too, and I think I still might have them. I don't think I threw them away. Because I know when God busts this thing wide open, because he's going to have to be the one that brings him home, I'll have that evidence, besides the stuff I got on Facebook. And I said, well, I'm his mother. You talk to his mother. I said, I know my child better than anybody. But, I don't think I ever got that torn hoodie. So I was trying to get that, and I also brought up some water. And then I was, like I said, calling them every day, trying to see if I could talk to my son. Then the program director at that time is a corrupt, racist piece of scum named Rob Party. And I don't call names, I just describe people. And I was leaving messages for him, and he wouldn't even call me back. And you'll hear that too. So I said, I'm going to start putting these audio tapes or recordings of me advocating for my son and what I was going through, trying to have meetings with these people, trying to get, I said, because my son has a right to see his own mother, and he needs my companionship. And I have a right to see my son. I said, I'm a victim as a mother that loves her child. And I said, I'm going to put it out there. I said, because I always have been involved. I've always been available, and I love my child just as much as any other parent does. And I said, I'm not going to walk away. And that has always baffled me. I said, they're trying to act like I'm not a human. And, I said, because what, they think I'm going to just walk away and forget about my child? Just because he happens to be in a racist, sick, evil, corrupt, greedy system, being exploited for money and abused and neglected by unfit people and racist people and corrupt people. I said, they think black people just not worth anything. I said, I'm not going to give up on my child. And most of all, I'm not going to give up on God, because I know God's got this thing. I'm a Christian. I know he has all power and authority. And I know God moves in his own way and is in his own appointed time. And just because it ain't happened yet, Marquise ain't back home, don't mean he ain't coming back home. But I know God has his own appointed time when he does things. And he has his own way. And that's a mistake for them, because a lot of people think, well, they think God is out of power or not in control, because he hasn't moved yet. Actually, it's already done. It's just that we're waiting for it to be manifest. God doesn't have to sit up and plan to do anything. He's already got it planned. It's already done. But a lot of people think that. Oh, he ain't done nothing yet. He ain't did this yet and stuff. And that's a big mistake. But God has his own time. And the Bible always tells us, at the appointed time, at the appointed time, at the appointed time, this is when God will, or you'll see this happen. So, I'm a little hoarse, so I want to apologize for that. But this tape is on a micro cassette, so it's not that clear. It's from January 2013, but I think in March 2013 I started using the cell phone, the smartphone voice recorder. But this is on a micro cassette. But, my son's just been treated just like pure crap. I mean, I don't know anybody that has suffered the way he has. And just because he's going through this doesn't mean he deserves it. Because God will use people that other people count out. And God told me, he said, you're right. He's not going through this because he deserves it, and neither has you. Or neither are you, because, your son ain't done nothing to nobody, and neither have you done anything to anybody. But I will use people that other people count out. And I think about how Jesus was treated. Here he was numbered with the transgressors, but the Bible said he was without sin. He was executed like a criminal. So just because somebody mistreats you, don't mean that you deserve it. They took my guardianship away, not because I abuse and neglect my son, but it was a way it helps them. Because anything happens to Marquise, they don't have to tell me. Like right now, they don't have to tell me. Like it's been what, over 4 years since I see my son. I mean, if he lands in the hospital, they don't have to tell me. And then they got this wicked, racist, lying, pathological attorney named Aaron L. Sanford. That is just a signature. But she don't care nothing about my son because that ain't her child. She doesn't have an emotional attachment to him. But if they need a signature, she can sign it. But if he has to go into the hospital for surgery, they don't have to ask for my consent. They don't even have to tell me about it. So that helps the system. And God sees all that stuff. But God is a just God, and he's not happy with it. And that's what I have to tell him. I've seen God put down a very evil, racist, wicked, corrupt, a Jewish lawyer that thought he was all-powerful, unstoppable, and God stopped him, took him off this planet, and let me find out about it by making me go get a newspaper in Walmart. And I don't get newspapers, but that day, something turned me around, maybe get that wallpaper, that newspaper, and see that man's name in the obituary. I said, I hope you let me see what you do with the rest of them. But vengeance belongs to God. Jesus says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And God knows when people do you wrong. I don't care what other people want to deny, because, you know, God will expose you when you're in denial. Just like he exposed countries, like this racism thing, he exposes it for what it is. While all these sick white people that are racist can run around, deny it all they want to, but God will expose it. And he will avenge it too. Because God is a just God. He's a loving, merciful God, because he came down here in the person of his son. We're covered with his blood. You don't have to go to hell. Jesus already took care of that. But you got to repent. That's why I said a lot of people headed straight to hell because they're not going to believe in Jesus and they're not going to love their neighbor. You can't hate a whole bunch of people, a whole race of people, and go to heaven. You just can't do that. The people are going to die in their sin. And they're going to have eternal hell, not eternal life. So even somebody like Sanford could be saved, but she's got to repent. But Jesus was treated just like a criminal. He was without sin, the Bible tells us. But, you know, he was executed like a criminal. My son ain't done nothing to nobody. And he ain't going through what he's going through because he deserves it. He's a wonderful young man. He's 26 years old. He's intelligent, he's handsome, and everything else. But God will have to restore him. And God is big and bad enough to do it. Because my son's life, it's not in their hands. It's in Jesus' hands. And so is mine. And I'm looking forward to the day that Jesus brings me back home. Because that's the only reason why I've been surviving. And Marquise has been surviving because of God. That's the only way. That's the only reason why. That I pull my hair out. Because I trust in God and I have hope. And I have faith in God. And I know he's been with my son. Because he told me, I'm with your son. He said, don't forget that. Just like when I was with Joseph, I'm with Marquise. And he said, they don't limit my power. I could be with him, bless him, do anything that I want with your son. No matter where he's at, I'm with him. He said, but I'm going to bring him back home. He said, pray for him. He said, because you got it on Facebook. He said, but when I bust this thing wide open, I'm going to bust it wide open. He said, I'll drag them people through the mud and back. Because, see, they think they're all powerful down here on earth. I said, but just God ain't, Marquise back home don't mean he ain't coming back home. It just means the day he ain't arrived yet that he has already appointed for him to come back home. But you don't want God angry with you, and you don't want, to be in God's way. He said, because I'm with you and Marquise in the rain. And he said, it really ain't no fight. It ain't no battle. He said, but I'm in y'all's corner. And he said, because I let people get muddy and drag them through their own mud. He said, so just stay faithful. He said, because I got this thing. But God doesn't like, evil like that. And especially, because when God talks about justice, like I said, he doesn't talk about the average Joe on the street. The average Joe on the street doesn't practice injustice. When God talks about injustice, and you can see how angry he is about it, he's talking about people that work in the illegal system, judges and lawyers and clerks and magistrates and, court investigators. That's who he's talking about. And he's really, really angry. It's throughout the Bible. You can see scripture about injustice. And God is a just God. But, that's how I've been making it, Because the Lord, he gives me comfort and peace. If I think about my son, start crying, and the Lord knows how much I love him, but God loves him even more. And he said, I'm going to take care of this thing. I'm going to do it for you, or I'm going to do it for him. And he said, I got this thing. You just stay faithful. And he said, and just keep believing. But they didn't like me praying with Marquise and telling Marquise he's going to come back home. And I told Sanford, of course, she don't talk to me, but, I hope she listens to these audio videos. She probably does it because, racist, sick white people can't stand black people to be human. So they can't stand what I have to say because I don't care anything about, racist, sick white people, and I'm definitely not intimidated by them. But, I said, because I tell him that because I'm a Christian, because I believe that. Because I know God doesn't look at time and age the way we look at it. I can't exactly tell you when he's going to bring you back home, but I know he is. And I said, and that's my faith. I said, but you ain't going to understand that because you ain't no Christian. But I have a warning to people that mess with Christian people, because when we're in the will of God, all we have to do is step back and let him fight our battles. And you ain't going to outbox God. You can't win the fight against God. And God deals with people in a lot of ways. And I read the Bible at least 4 times, four times all the way through. And, you will see how God will deal with people, where he'll go ahead and destroy them. Sometimes he moves them out. Sometimes, like that one king, he made him become a oxen or an animal for 7 years. Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel. But God got a lot of different ways where he'll deal with people or nations or kings or queens or whatever. So, let me go ahead and let you hear this. But like I told that woman, I said, well, and like I said, I think I deleted her comment, but she said, what the hell, and why should I wave my flag upside down? I said, I never asked anybody to wave their flag upside down. I got to know, sis, everybody doesn't have the same experience. But if I got 2 neighbors, I'm in between 2 neighbors, and every now and then they'll hang that American flag up. I understand it. They're white. They got white privilege. America's been good to them. They got their life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I ain't mad at them. But just don't tell me, that my experience is your experience. That's the problem I have with racist white people. I love people, but I hate racism. But don't tell me that, that I'm not living this thing. But I don't know. I didn't ban her, but she never came back. She never came back. I said, don't come back and think with that. I said, because you'll get your feelings hurt. I said, because racism is not complicated. But ignorant white people, try to complicate it and stuff. Blame black people, try to make you the victim. I said, all it is you treating the victim race negatively and differently. And I said, and trying to dehumanize them. I I said, 'Cause the way they treat black people, you think black people weren't human, that we didn't have any feelings, or that we didn't love our kids, and didn't care about our rights or our life or anything. It's really sad. It really, really is. So what I'm going to do is um, play this. And like I said, it's for January 2013. And bringing up his new glasses. After I took the other broken ones home. Asking for his worn light gray hoodie. I brought some water. Trying to see and talk to my son because I know he was in pain. I know he was missing me and stuff. I called like consecutive days. Every day I would call and they wouldn't let me talk to him. And yes, I had guardianship of my son. And leaving a message for a very sick, racist employee. He's now the superintendent because when they're corrupt like that, and when they sweep everything under the rug, they just move it from one job to another. His name is Rob Capaldi. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this now, and let you hear it. And again, I apologize for the clarity because it was recorded on a micro cassette, so it wasn't that clear. So here we go. So there you have it, and I had to call like I think 4 or 5 days straight, but I wouldn't give up, and I kept leaving it some messages, the same messages. I want to see my son. I want to see my son. I'm not just going to go away. I love my child too much, and so he finally let me see Marquise January 24th. But I had to start calling. I called the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. I think I probably called on the 20th too. But it just goes to show, and that happened a lot. That time when Marquise eloped because they had him in a building by himself and they had a fire drill and it scared my son, and he ran out naked across the street and cut his hand. He had cut his hand when he hit the window on the house that he ran into. Well, he didn't run inside of it, but he ran up to it and on the porch. He was standing on the porch and he hit the window because he was so scared from the fire alarm. They didn't let me see it that day. And I came over to bring Long John Silver. And I found out, oh, well, he done ran across the street and stuff. Ron Capaldi is just a piece of scum. He's just a rotten, racist piece of scum. Because that man just sits up and lies and everything. And like I said, if he don't repent, he gets straight to hell. But I just, when things happen, I just want to see how God shows himself strong and proud. And also to see God's vengeance. I want to see that too. You know, I see God's mercy, but I want to see that vengeance too. And he denied something terrible, but he would let me go and see Marquise. Because Marquise was all injured, traumatized, and everything else. And so they don't want me to see him when he's been injured and traumatized, and by them, not my son doing this to herself. So, but there you have it. I'm not going to give up on my son. That's what baffles me. You know, like, I know they like to dehumanize black people, those sick, racist white people, but, and I hate racism. I don't hate people, you know, white people and stuff, because I give money. I gave money to a white guy in church today to give to the, he's homeless, and to give to the offering, you know. But anyway, it just baffles me that they think that I'm going to just give up on my son and walk away. I said, I love him too much. I still buy him gifts. That closet's full of clothes and gifts and games and toys and Christmas presents and birthday presents and Resurrection Day presents and Valentine's Day presents and graduation presents and love presents. And I'm not going to give up on God, because I know God has the power and authority and the control over everything. Even people that don't believe in him, he's still got the control. And he's got the control over that scum and that system. And Marquise's life doesn't depend on Aaron Sanford and Robert Montgomery, the corrupt, racist, wicked, evil, sick probate judge. It depends on God. And so does my life. So I ain't going no place. Like I said, I love my son just as much as that scum love whatever they got in their lives. So there you have it. One thing about the 4 pages, if you go visit them, I always tell people, especially with the justice and the abuse and neglect page, start at the very beginning. At the very first post. I'm getting kind of hoarse. You know, when I first created the pages. Don't start at the last post. And like I said, I do have the 4 pages. You can find the links if you go to Myra Tainsley. But the justice page and abuse and neglect page start at the very beginning. And I think that's about it. Marquise, I love you. I think about you every single day. You know, I'm not going to walk away. I'm not going to forget about you. I'm not going to give up on you. I'm not going to give up on God. And I don't want you to give up on God or give up on me, because God loves you and so do I. I'm just waiting for the day that God has already reset for you to come back home. That's all I'm waiting for. I miss you so much. And God loves you. And even more. So I just want you to know that. Don't give up, huh? Hang on in there. Jesus loves you, and I love you. I'm proud and honored to be your mother. And I send up prayers all the time for you. And I know God is with you like he's with Joseph. Or when he was with Joseph, when Joseph was in the prison. And God was with him and brought him out and put him in the palace. So don't give up. Don't give up. And I love you so much. And I know God is going to use you. That's why I'm honored to be your mother. Because you're not going through what you're going through because you deserve it. But God will use this for his praise, honor, and glory. And he uses people that other people count out. They all have counted you out. You're nothing but money for them to get from the federal government. Even the federal government wouldn't do anything for you. Because I got where I wrote them, HHS and DOJ, the presidents. I wrote President Obama and President Trump. But that's all right, because God's going to vindicate you and me. He's going to bring it out the way he wants to bring it out. And everybody will take notice that, you know, in God's eyes, you're something special. You don't mean nothing to them. But in God's eyes, you're something special, and he has chosen to use you. So that's all I have for now. Don't forget to go to the pages and start at the very beginning, especially for the justice page and abuse and neglect page. I'm sorry for my hoarseness. And there's many more tapes to come. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And Jesus is Lord. Love you, Marquise.